Free dope, free dope, free dope, free dope, free dope, free dope. You're now tapped in to Free Dope, the greatest podcast in the world, each week. Bringing you topical conversations that are sometimes intelligent but absolutely undeniably hilarious. Yeah, we'll see about that. Podcasting from a city near you, Free Dope starts now.
And whatever city that is, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to tune into this, our first episode. I don't know if I'm saying ours, because it's just me, but it's us, right? Me and you. Hi, my name is Jerron. There's like so many things I had planned for like the first episode, by the way, but everything went completely, absolutely wrong. That's probably like the lesson that I need to learn, you know? Like, no matter how many obstacles you face, you just gotta do it. Like, it was this saying that somebody told me. It's like, leap and the net will appear. Like, you don't know what you're doing. Like, life is about not knowing what you're doing at all. But then as soon as you just take that action, everything starts to fall into place. So thank you for being here on this very first episode of, I don't know how many episodes of this show that are going to come our way. But, you know, hopefully I keep it up this time. It's been a long time in the making. Like, dang, it was maybe 5 years ago that I tried to start a podcast. It lasted for 4 episodes and then stopped. Then picked it up again during the pandemic. That lasted for 3 episodes. So, you know, a little less. And I guess I had so much resistance around doing it because it's so nerve-wracking. And everybody's like, well, you do radio. Like, yeah, I do, you know, Sirius, right? In the afternoons on an indie station, Sirius XMU, Channel 35, if you're listening. Also, Sundays on Alt Nation, Channel 36 in the mornings. But that's different. You know, like talking between songs for 30 seconds, 40 seconds at a time. It's just much different from like going on your own and I guess being vulnerable in a way. Vulnerability is a scary fucking thing for a lot of us, right? Like relationships, work, just putting yourself out there, especially creatively, you know, because with social media and just the ability for everybody to have an opinion, it becomes even scarier. But if there's something that you want to do, just go ahead and do it. Like, stop waiting for people to give you a seat at the table. If you leave with nothing else from today's show, just stop waiting for people to give you a seat at the table. That's like the most annoying thing, right? Because like you want to do something. You have all these dreams, hopes, aspirations inside of you. And then you're afraid that it might not be received well, or you're just waiting for somebody to tell you, hey, it's okay. Go ahead and, you know, do that thing you want to do. Right. And if nobody tells us it's okay, then we don't do it. But like radio's been a thing I've wanted to do for so long. Like I was that lame kid that would play radio in my room. Like I would lock myself up with my boombox and my little recording equipment. I mean, at the time it was just like a microphone, so it wasn't really recording equipment. But just, you know, I'd had another radio in the background, have my recording radio right there. And then I would play songs off of one radio into the other, into the microphone, like talking between the songs. Ever since I was a kid, like I wanted to do radio. And I think my earliest memory of this is actually sitting in the backyard with my great grandfather. He had this little tiny yellow radio and he would be on his exercise bike, like in the carport or like in the garage down in San Diego. And we would listen to just the news radio, which is why I listen to so much news, by the way. I just realized that right now. Like anytime my wife comes downstairs, she always sees me watching like some type of news. It was ingrained in me from a young age because he's my great grandfather, so he's like 80 at the time. But we would listen to the news radio on this yellow box, and I just became fascinated with the voice inside of it, like that connection that you can have with somebody who's on the other end that you don't know who they are. Like you don't see their face. It's a mystery. Like you can create your own world listening to whatever happens. But I actually got into radio by ditching school. Like nobody knows this story. But I was finishing up my last year in college and I really didn't go to a lot of classes because it was the last year I didn't feel like going to classes. So I was just chilling in my bed one day and I was like, let me just do something productive for the day, you know, because it was like noon and I missed my first couple of classes. So I just decided to look for an internship because I need an internship to graduate. And at the time I was studying marketing and I was looking for a business internship, but it wasn't really, you know, like of that much interest to me. Like I was just doing marketing because honestly, I wanted to go to Arizona State. I didn't go there, but like marketing was the easiest subject at Arizona State. And that's like a party school. So I was going to have time to party. That's how I got into marketing. But when I was going to Cal Poly Pomona, where I graduated from, I wasn't really going to class, that last part. So I started searching just for radio internships, honestly, because I'll never forget there's this one thing called Com Day. And they would have people from the communications industry just come by and lecture. And I wasn't a comm major. They just advertised it around campus. And I decided to go. I was like, all right, let me just check this out. Because deep down, I still had that desire to go into radio, but it was my last year of college. I'm like, well, I should have studied comm from the get-go, and there's no way this can possibly happen. I'm studying business now. So I went to that comm day, and I was listening to people talk, and there was this one guy, he was working for a nationally syndicated night show, and he came to lecture everybody about career in radio. And then from that moment, I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to try it. I had no idea how to even get into it. I just kept Googling, right? And I came across this job board that would post all the radio jobs that were available all over the country. And I just kept looking every single day, and nothing ever popped up. But then that day I ditched class. I was like, let me just hop on this board again and just see what's up. I just got to find this internship. I got to do something. So I logged on for the first time in a while, and I was scrolling through the job posts, and nothing was really in the Los Angeles area, because again, it was a national job board. So I was just, going through things. I was like, oh, that's nice. There's a job in Fargo, North Dakota, something like that. I was like, all right, cool. Well, I can't do that because I'm in LA, so I got to graduate, right? But as I got to the last post or last couple of posts, there was one for an internship in Los Angeles, and it was working with the Adam Carolla show. And he, is Jimmy Kimmel's best friend, from Man Show and Loveline. I was like, that's amazing. I don't know how I'm going to do this though, because I have no background in communications or anything like that, or in radio in general. I'm just a business major trying to find an internship and somehow make this work. So I sent over my resume, which really had nothing on it at all. And then I got a response back. I was like, well, this is fucking crazy. I got a response back, and they called me in for an internship. And I'll never forget, I drove into LA, and I wore this blue suit that I had to borrow from one of my friends. It was the most disgusting thing ever, but I wanted to look my best, right? I was like, I'm a college kid. I have nothing else to offer. I have no background in communications or in radio in general. This is not my line of study. And this is the Adam Carolla show. It took over for Howard Stern, and he was, in multiple markets, right? So it's a major, big deal. So I just wanted to show up looking my best, kind of just to distract them from the fact that I actually don't have any experience at all. So I showed up in that periwinkle suit, and so I just left thinking oh, this is not going to happen. So I just went back to my place, probably hopped into bed. At the time I had a sidekick, so I was probably playing Bunny Chow or something like that at the time. And then a couple of days later, I got an email back getting that internship, which was crazy. And when I started it, one thing they said that impressed them the most was the fact that I showed up in a suit. And I was like, fuck yeah, it worked. It worked. The plan worked. So I got the internship and actually got hired on to the show after I completed the internship, because, when you're out of school, they have to pay you because you can no longer work for free. So I got the job afterwards. But then after a while, I just wanted a little something more, it was cool. I got to go to the Playboy Mansion, got to go to so many different parties, got the hookup on so many different, just free products, which was the dopest thing ever, because you had access to the prize closet and just going inside there and taking things. I actually have a funny story about the Playboy Mansion that I'm going to have my friend on to tell that story. I'm just thinking about it right now. But I got one of my friends into, actually a few friends into the Playboy Mansion working there. But I'll tell that story on another episode though. So yeah, so I got hired on, and then I just wanted to do something more, I was like, oh, I just want a chance to venture out and really pursue this as a career now, because I have my foot in the door. So I went back on that same job board, and kind of the same thing happened. There were a lot of jobs that were not in the general area. And then I forgot, maybe a couple of days later, I went back on again after the show had ended for the day. And then within a minute or two of me signing on, I saw a job posting for a radio station that was like 45 minutes away. And they literally had just posted that job like a couple minutes before I signed on. So I submitted my resume over there and I got a call that same night saying that I was like the first person to apply for the job, which was like a fantastic thing because it was divine timing, I would say. So because I was the first person and I was within 45 minutes of the location, they didn't have to pay for moving expenses, which they didn't want to do because it was a cheap place to work for. That's another story. But since I was so close and I could move on my own dime, and the fact that I really had no belongings whatsoever because I just graduated college, I was, able to get called in for an interview, ended up getting the job. And the fact that I was working on the Adam Carolla show really helped in that instance because they heard me on the show, not saying like I was great, but they just, knew who I was. And it just goes to show, at least for me, the fact that I did take that internship. I worked for free, right? And I was investing in my future. And because that, it paid off in that instance right there. So it was pretty dope. So I ended up working at that station for a few years before, again, I wanted something a little more. So went back on that same job board yet again. And I kept seeing this one job pop up over and over again. I was like, well, if it's on again when I sign on one more time, I'm going to go ahead and apply for it. Because it wasn't a far job at all. It was like back in LA, but it wasn't on local radio. This time it was on satellite. So I went on the job board yet again. And then, of course, the job was like the first thing I saw when I signed on. I was like, all right, fine. I'm just going to apply for it. Ended up applying for it. And it turns out that the producer that was working on the show was the same producer that hired me for my internship. Had no idea that she was working on that show at all. So that helped me get a foot in the door. And after many, many rounds and after many applicants, I was able to get that job, probably because I was young and worked for cheap. That's actually what really helped out because I had roommates and I had no family to support and I was still young, so I could work for absolutely nothing. So that's how I got the job, got inside there. And then that lasted for a while before everything went to hell. Everything went to hell after that. Not with me, kind of with me, like because the channel got taken off the lineup. It was for Sirius, so that got removed from the lineup. And then after that was kind of like a spiral, like had a problem getting back into radio full time, couldn't find a job at all. And after having success after success after success and everything coming so easily, I was like, what's the point of this? Like, what is this? What are these obstacles that I'm facing? Because this makes no sense. Everything should come easily, right? And I would take small jobs around LA, working for, again, nothing, but this time it was like part-time nothing, just to like make connects and network. And that seemed to work for a little bit. Like I got some cool opportunities out of it, but nothing really panned out to like that full-time gig. And then I actually left radio for quite a while, taking just miserable jobs, working in restaurants as a busboy, delivering medical equipment, selling marketing plans. And I actually was going to sell cable for Spectrum. I think it's Spectrum or Charter, one of the two. Spectrum, though. But I was actually going to sell cable for Charter or for Spectrum, whatever, Got hired on there. And during the week of my training, I think it was like the first or second day of training, I actually got a call back for a national commercial for GMC, one of the GMC trucks. And I had been on many national commercials. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Side note. Yeah, forgot soft launch. I do the acting thing as well because why not? Multiple streams of income. But so I did that as well. And I had a callback. It's like when you go back in front of the producers and everything for this national commercial. And I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to get it. So I actually almost didn't go on it at all. But I was told by my fantastic agent to do it. So I did it. I went out and I just kind of resigned to the fact that, well, this is not going to happen, because I'm like, they're going to want somebody who's like, better looking than I am, whatever, So went back to that Spectrum job. I got a call saying that I booked that commercial and it was a national commercial. And I was like, well, this is absolutely freaking life-changing at this point now because I had gone into Sirius prior to that as well. Sorry to backtrack for a second. I have ADD, but I had gone to Sirius a couple of times before that for interviews for part-time jobs. And I really couldn't afford to take a part-time job because I needed to make actual money, right? So I'm like, well, if these are part-time jobs, I really can't do them. I can't get paid $18 an hour because I have, real life bills to pay because I'm much older at this point now. I'm like my mid 30s. So I couldn't work for cheap. But I booked the national commercial, and I'll never forget, like, I ended up leaving training in the middle of the day, at lunch break. I just went home because I knew I was not going to do this job ever again because of that national commercial. I didn't know how much I was going to get paid from it. But the things that you want to book in national commercials, I think number one is pharmaceutical. Number two is a car commercial. And this was a car commercial. So I was like, all right, cool. Well, I'm going to get some money from it. And this was in November of 2019 that I went in and booked this commercial. So I was like, all right, bet, cool. So I'm gonna get some money from it, whatever. And then I ended up quitting that Spectrum job. And then I called Sirius like on the way home. And I said, hey, those part-time jobs that, you want me to come in for? Well, I would like to actually take one of those because now I was able to take that part-time job, get back into the career path because I had some supplemental income in a way. So when I shot the commercial, it was like November of 2019, right before the world went to hell. And I started Sirius January of 2020 as a part-timer. And I was able still to get that money from the national commercial, which ended up paying me at the end, I think like 50 or 60 G's, which was like fucking fantastic, especially it carried me through all of 2020. But yeah, I started Sirius in January of 2020. I started back with them then. And 3 months later, everything shut down and hiring stopped. So I got in at the right time. And during the pandemic, they just kept asking me, like, what are some other things you want to do? And then thanks to my fantastic wife, I was telling them, I don't want to do anything else. But she was in the background yelling. I'll never forget. She was like yelling at me silently, and pointing her fingers forcefully, telling me that she want to get back on the radio, telling me that she want to do on-air stuff. So I said, yeah. I just want to, go and hop back on the mic, do some on-air stuff. Nobody at the time knew that I had a background actually doing it because I kind of tailored my resume in a way to make it seem like I was only working behind the scenes because I guess I didn't think that I was good enough to actually get back on the mic again after having that, tailspin happen and not being able to find a job for years. So I was just willing to take like something behind the scenes. So I said, yeah, I want to get back on the mic and do some stuff. So they hooked me up with the right people. So I cut the demo, I sent it off, and it actually got some traction. And I actually got calls from it. And I ended up getting back on the air and hosting the afternoons on the channel that I'm on now. And then from that, I was able to pick up more channels to fill in. And then when I went back into the office a few years later, because we were all working from home, they had actually the channel that I worked on playing like in this big garage studio, the performance space in the building. And the guy that actually helped me get connected for that demo was like, hey, you're on in the garage. Like, that's you. So I told him, I said, thank you for making the introduction for me because, because of you, I'm able to do this again. And you're the one that actually brought me back in here and offered me that part-time job as well. So because of you, I'm back in the building. Because of you, I have that connect to get back on air on the music side. So, I really appreciate you believing in me in a way, right? So it's just amazing how far you go with like the right people in your corner. So like I'm forever grateful for that. So yeah, that's just like a little background as to who I am. But yeah, so on the show though, I just want to do some fun stuff, like have some fun because my background is particularly morning radio. So I'm just used to having a lot of fun and just being absolutely crazy with everything. Sometimes we'll just be conversing, not to get soapboxy, but sometimes it might, and sometimes we'll laugh and have other people on as well. But one thing I really want to do though is have some calls, because this is podcasting. There's not that really big of a live element. But I do have a voicemail line that was set up. That way I can at least interact, and take some calls on the show. So if you do want to leave a message, you can always reach out 213-935-0606. That's the place to leave your message at. And I think I actually have a couple that I want to play because I'm just checking them right now. I see that there are a few inside there. So let's go ahead and take these messages real quick to start off this first show.
Next message.
Press 2 to be removed and put on our do not call list. Press 1 to speak with someone about possibly extending or reinstating your car's warranty.
Okay, they're always looking for the car warranty. That's not how I plan on starting it off, but let's go ahead and try another one, okay?
Next message.
Hey, babe. Yeah, I think you gave me the right number.
I can guarantee you this is absolutely the wrong number, but let's go ahead and listen to this one.
I'm over here with these kids trying to shake loose, and I figured you probably gave me the wrong number. I thought we really hit it off, but it seems like you set me on some bullshit.
I guess what did he do wrong in the date to have somebody send him the wrong number? And now he's going to follow up with them because obviously he thinks that it went well, thinks that he really knocked that date out of the park. But apparently she did not at all.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, I ain't worried about it. You know what I mean? Shit, but I ain't gonna sweat it. I'm a little hurt. I ain't even sweating. I'm good. Yeah, man, fuck it. Hey, got me stuck over here. Fuck, man. All right.
He's really going through the emotions right now. Sounds like a good dad, though, at least, got the kids in the background. And he's drunk, so it's probably, a pretty good thing, I guess. All right, let's take one more voice message.
Next message.
Hello, Jerome. This is Timothy.
Okay, I'm feeling confident about this call right now. What's up, Timothy?
I was wondering if the opium den we used to frequent on 3rd Street has reopened.
No, I don't even know what an opium den is.
I have not been since the pandemic shut down, but the opium den I've been going to in La Cañada, Flint Ridge, is a bit of a trek. Looking to go to a more local opium den. Please call me back if you have an answer to this query.
Okay, I got it. Because the show's name is Free Dope, I think he thinks that I'm a plug somehow, but no, I'm not a plug, my man. I'm just a random person who just put two words together that sounded good at the time, but apparently now you think I'm a drug dealer. But no, I've never been to an opium den. I don't know where Locking Out of Flint Ridge is at. I don't know anything about what you're talking about, Timothy, but I appreciate your call. If you want to get a hold of us, here's the number.
Leave a message at 213-935-0606.
There you go, 213-935-0606. Hope to catch you back here next time. If you do like what you heard, please feel free to like us on whatever platform you're listening on and share it with a friend, okay? Because that's like the thing about trying to build something from the ground up. There's really no audience unless like you're a celebrity, then all of a sudden, everyone wants to flock to what you do. But I really appreciate any support that I can get from anybody who's listening. So if it's just one person out there, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to check out what I have to put out. So I'll catch you later, okay?